What's up?
Not too much. How you doing?
Good. It's working on this coaching philosophy document.
Oh yeah,
Imagine trying to consolidate every idea surrounding coaching that you've ever had.
that's what you're doing.
What I'm doing,
You gonna write a book?
well, I'm hoping that it helps me within mentorship courses and just like accountability within designing training plans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even if I just go through the exercise of defining it all and being like, okay, that works, then I'll
Yeah.
probably be clear on utilizing my own ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. More consistent.
Yeah. There's always like, I find, and I've said this to our coaches in the past, like, you guys need to be reading more. You need to be educating yourselves. And what you're going to start to notice is that all of these things, like all of these models of training or rehab or building strength or developing endurance or language communication, all of them are the same thing framed through a different lens. And the more that you can reconcile those things and just distill it down into its meaningful parts, the more effective you're going to be.
Yeah. How would you describe the common ancestor there between all those different disciplines?
I just mean like within each domain. I don't know that interdisciplinary, they have a common ancestor, but certainly within their domains, right? Like take a look at endurance training, for instance, right? Like you've got these zone models, you've got like raise the floor, raise the ceiling, you've got different intensity zone or distributions, and it's all just like an attempt to manage fatigue, right? How can we manage fatigue in the best possible way? And a lot of them are prescriptive. And if you're not looking at it with a critical lens, you just see these prescriptive models where you're like, oh, this works. I'm going to try that. Right. And then you're like, okay, so stress is the limiter. Right. So anytime we're trying to develop some sort of physical quality, stress is the limiter. How do we tolerate it? Allostatic load. So we've got all of the things outside of training and all of the things inside of training. We as coaches can control what's going on inside of training for the most part, unless we have a client who's like really going off plan, which they tend to do sometimes. But we just look at their response and we adjust the dose. And we're just like fiddling if we're doing it responsibly, or if we're doing it irresponsibly, we're just grabbing programs and being like, I think this one will work. And you do that. Worst case scenario is you extend the time horizon, right? So more responsibly would it be to take a 4-week program and put it in and see how the person responds. Like that worked very well. That didn't work very well. Less responsibly would be to take a 16-week long percentage-based weightlifting program and drop it in and say, here are your lift numbers, 3, 2, 1, go. And then at the end of 16 weeks, look back and be like, how did that go? Right now, the most responsible would be like, this is what we're going to try and do in this phase of programming. Here's a week. Let's see how you respond to it. Oh, that went pretty well. I'm going to give you a little bit more next week and see how you do. And maybe it's like the result comes back stagnant. And so you try it again and it comes back stagnant again. And you're like, okay, let's make an adjustment. Do we make an adjustment to the training prescription, or do I try and convince you to change your lifestyle so that you recover from this training stress differently? So that's kind of like, if you were asking about the common ancestor within training, I would say it's just like stress and recovery, which you probably see tons in the rehab world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're either trying to get them to do harder or more training, depending on the injury, or managing the aggravating stimulus better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll be cool to see what this document looks like when it's all done.
Oh yeah. I've got a first draft of it. I'm just
Oh,
working
nice.
through all of the uncertainties. I think it's hard for AI to boil it down because there's so many use case scenarios where you're taking the same framework and applying it in different contexts. So like essentially what I'm trying to combine is this limiter bridge performance model where you take some sort of limitation. Like let's say, we looked at semifinals and you had a pretty good semifinals weekend, but the ring muscle up workout was bad. And you're like, okay, well, the ring muscle ups for the limiter. But then you start looking at specifically what within the ring muscle ups is the limiter. And you're like, oh, now we're going to look at like some sort of structural balance equation, right? Like what's your close grip bench press? What's your weighted pull up? Weighted pull up is very poor compared to close grip bench press. Well, probably you have an upper body pulling strength limitation. Right? And so this is your limiter. You do a bunch of training on the limiter, improve upper body pulling strength, go into bridge, start doing ring muscle ups, accumulate volume with this newly found upper body pulling strength, transition to performance. And then we've got vertical integration, which organizes our training. We've got this CrossFit's mechanics, consistency, intensity framework, which gates our training, right? Like at what point am I progressing this weighted pull-up within the limiter phase? At what point am I progressing the ring muscle up inside the bridge phase? And how am I adapting the performance phase to actually look like something that they're going to do that's going to drive them towards a better result when they repeat that workout? But I'm also trying to fold in ecological dynamics and constraints that approach, where we're looking at it in terms of like individual task and environment. So in that example, the individual is limited in their upper body pulling strength, and that influences the task. And then we're going to open up the environment once we develop the individual expression through the task or how they interact with the task now that they've got an adequate upper body pulling strength. And then we apply it to the sport specific environment. But that would change dramatically given a whole host of things. So that's one example. And then we look at it, we compare weighted pull up to close grip bench press and like, oh, that ratio is fine. So upper body pulling strength probably isn't the limiter, right? So then we have this whole new framework where it's like, okay, we're not in the limiter phase. We're not actually focused on strength. Turns out it's technical proficiency. So we're doing just isolated skills and chills derivatives, muscle ups, environment. Oh, it's actually fitness. Like this person can do 10 unbroken ring muscle ups, but they have a 720 2K row. And you're like, okay, well, they're just not fit. So then the limiter becomes like, we're actually going to train the ring muscle up via some sort of engine where we're going to do tons of ski and row intervals. And then we're going to do ski and row and muscle up intervals. And then we'll open the environment back up to performance based. And so it's blending all of these concepts together into one coherent prescriptive model.
That sounds pretty good, man. With all of your benchmark scores, I mean, you could just feed all of that data through the model, through an LLM, and it could write a whole bunch of workouts.
You would hope, but that's
I wouldn't trust it.
Place that I feel like it falls short.
Yeah.
It's really good at helping me organize thoughts and create models that are to be interpreted by coaches. But then once it starts writing stuff, you see these really obvious, like you would see beginner coaches make these mistakes where you're like, that person did 12 muscle ups on Monday and 50 on Thursday. Like, I'm not seeing where that went. And then, it's like, you had them do this exercise, but why? You know what I mean? Just these I guess it's the program design version of a hallucination.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like I definitely don't trust it for anything other than like summaries or, like kind of primers or things like that. A starting point, basically. Because it's like it's so weird. They're not intelligent. Like they don't know things.
Yeah. But for now, it's really good at like organizing thoughts into coherent streams.
Yeah.
Do you want to get
Yeah.
into durability, or did you have any other topics that you wanted to?
Yeah, we could chat about durability. I just read, like, I quickly scanned a paper, so I don't have much to say on that other than, like, how it might relate to other stuff. But um, other things I was just kind of thinking about as we were getting closer here was, like, we haven't really talked about nutrition much. Could do that at some point. Um, or like a more specific programming, because we've talked a lot about programming as you know, at a general level, like structure, but not a whole lot of specific, which is hard to do, obviously, for as a general prescription. But we could, use some examples or something like that at some point.
Yeah. Programming's a tough one because you really have to like walk that razor's edge of giving content to people that you know is probably not relevant,
Yeah.
but that they're going to be interested in.
Yeah.
And then respecting that as a coach, your philosophy is individualization.
Yeah.
And you might be spitting this program out into the world that 1,000 people try, or in our case, 80 people try, and 79 of them, it's the wrong program.
Yeah. It's tough. It's probably not worth, giving specific advice, but we could do some examples at some point, like of some of your clients or something like that, like something that worked for them.
Yeah, that'd be kind of a cool like exercise, is just take some like quarterfinals or semifinals results and explain them. But it ties into what we were talking about with that limiter bridge performance model of like identifying a limiter, right? So I don't know. I'm sure Sean wouldn't care, but we could talk a little bit about his semifinals performance, because he had some like, oh, did you see that he was on barbell spin?
I heard. Yeah, I haven't seen the article. Or was it a video?
It was a video.
Oh, geez.
He only did 4 shuttle runs in one round.
Damn. And that's what kind of penalty?
Oh, like a 30-second penalty or something like that. It was significant. It was disproportionate to the amount of time that it took him. Speaking of disproportionate penalties, did you watch High Rocks Worlds?
Yeah. Well, I didn't watch it, but I saw
God.
yeah.
All the highlights. I feel like they've taken a really cool approach with that and like turned it into F1.
Yeah.
Right? These penalties, and they like let them keep running their race, and then they assess the penalty at the end. It's pretty cool. The format is definitely viewer centric.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for what it is, it's surprisingly fun to watch. Like, it sounds pretty boring on paper, but it actually is quite enjoyable.
I should watch the whole event.
Yeah.
To get the feel for it. Is it on something like Flow Elite, or like, is it paywall gated?
They're on YouTube.
Oh, I need to watch it then for sure.
I think I've always seen them after the fact for free, but I've never paid for anything.
Yeah.
And it's always on YouTube. I think we might have watched one live at some point. They might just all be free.
I'm going to check it out. Maybe Cattle want to watch it tonight.
Yeah. Didn't the one guy get DQ'd for jumping off the ski early though?
Canadian guy. Yeah. He actually used to be a CrossFitter. But he's like super tall and super fit. So he kind of naturally gravitated towards High Rocks. But the like drama around that was that he completed all 1,000 meters, but he stepped off the platform.
Yeah.
Early. So it's this like real technical call, and they could have assessed a penalty, but instead they just DQ'd him.
Yeah. It seemed like it should be a penalty if finishing the wall balls early and running away is just a penalty.
Right? Especially when you didn't finish.
You didn't finish. You ran away, but they just give you a penalty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a weird double standard.
Maybe that one is like a technicality issue, because I don't know if they were chip timers, but once you cross the finish line, your time is locked. So they just give you a penalty accordingly. It should be way more than 15 seconds though.
Yeah. I might watch that.
Do you want to talk a little bit about either durability or like an assessment of performance?
Yeah, let's do that. You've been thinking about it. You've been doing lots. What kind of define it? Because I was a little bit surprised when I saw the definition at the beginning of the paper that I was reading. It's just not what the term durability was like in my brain. What is it
Um,
usually defined as in sports?
so um, typically you would define durability as probably more like robustness or resistance to injury, right?
Yeah.
But in these kind of like research papers or whatever you want to call them, review papers, they define it as the fourth dimension to performance. The first three being VO2 max, lactate threshold, and exercise economy. And then durability is resistance to fatigue. I think there's a couple ways that shows up. And maybe as we discuss it, we can come up with a better definition, which is like my working definition is preservation. And when we use a term like preservation, we can apply it more broadly. So a couple of the things that they notice, like the big measurable ones is like pace at lactate threshold is preserved over a longer period of time in more durable athletes. One of the things that they most correlate with durability is total training time measured in minutes over years. Like the more training that you've accumulated, the more likely you are to be durable. And you can see how they would label that as the fourth dimension or the fourth pillar of performance, because you might have two athletes with the same lactate threshold, the same VO2 max, and the same economy. We'll just quickly define economy so that people who are listening are on the same page. It's the O2 cost of exercise. So if two athletes have the same VO2 max and are running at the same speed, they might be at different positions relative to that VO2 max. And that economy determines that. So VO2 max, lactate threshold, economy. And durable athletes preserve those thresholds over a longer span of time. So that's like the objective measure of durability. I think where we can kind of like broaden it outside of what gets measured is if we frame it around our fatigue discussion, where it's like, how do you feel about how you feel when you're tired? Right. So a durable athlete will be familiar with the feeling of fatigue and they won't feel as tired. A less durable athlete, even though they might have the same markers, like let's say you and I develop the same three pillars, VO2 max, lactate threshold, and running economy, but I do mine through hard threshold intervals and you do yours through a large accumulation of zone 2 efforts or easy work. You're never going to feel what it's like to operate close to your critical power, whereas I'll be super familiar with it. So I'll likely be a more durable athlete because I feel differently in that position. Your brain is going to start like becoming a little bit mentally overstimulated with that level of stress. And it's not that your body and your physiology can't handle the stress. It's that the way that you perceive that stress becomes too much. So that's, I think, we've got like, if we start to plan domains within durability, we've got the physiological domains that we can measure where you're measuring heart rate, you're measuring oxygen consumption, you're measuring lactate, and you're seeing these more or less durable athletes and what those physiological markers do over time at the same relative intensity. And then this more subjective fatigue, which is like, it's sort of semi-subjective, semi-objective. It's being measured, but it's still an emergent kind of discussion, theory, hypothesis. And then with something like CrossFit, we've got preservation of movement. And we can fold in, so I classify things into mechanics and technique. So somebody might be able to preserve their mechanics, where we talk about things like neutral spine, knees tracking in line with the toes, balance above the frontal plane. These are CrossFit terms, but those are all mechanic specific, right? Like they're mostly rooted in safety and expression of force. So somebody might have very durable mechanics, right? Like they never round their back on deadlifts, but the deadlift fatigues quite quickly. And then some people might have really poor technique or more durable technique where you're watching them and you're like, damn, every single one of your muscle ups was both mechanically sound and technically sound. And so they've got durable mechanics and durable technique. And you see that in the greats that have competed in the sport. There's really only two, Rich and Matt. But watching Rich in the early days, you would just be like, every rep is the same and they're all perfect. And same with Fraser. Every rep is the same. They're all perfect. Every one of his snatches, every one of his muscle ups, all dialed in. But you can see like an athlete like Noah Olsen, where he really let mechanics slip. He didn't have durable mechanics. He would, when he started to get tired, he'd be snatching, he'd finish his rep, literally staring at the barbell. And he was so athletic that he could get away with it. But maybe if he had more durability around those mechanics, and maybe not, maybe that was what allowed him to be so great for so long, was the adaptability that he possessed and the robustness to be able to tolerate all of this, this movement variability under extreme stress and load without sustaining any significant injuries. But that's how I've been looking at durability, is across multiple domains.
Do you think those two guys could have done even better had they pick an event that they didn't win or something like that? Could they have potentially won it if they had let their mechanics slip a little bit, do you think? Or were they just so good and so durable that they were able to push to their limits without their technique degrading?
I think it's the preservation of technique that lets you express yourself better. When we get tired, our brain gets overloaded and we start to make technical errors. We had talked about the ability to preserve, you were saying walking and then having a conversation and then juggling and how that walking slows down. But if we have really well preserved mechanics and technique, on the mechanics side, we're going to be able to transfer force better. And on the technique side, we're going to be able to direct that force into the proper direction, the proper expression, so that we actually get the movement outcome that we're after. So I think it's likely what gave them the edge is the durability within that, where if they had broken down, they probably would have felt a set earlier because they would have been leaking power instead of expressing it appropriately.
Yeah. Yeah. So early on, definitely not. But what about at the end of a workout? Cause I don't remember Matt Fraser in particular. I remember one time seeing him fail a rep. And other than that, I don't think it even ever looked bad. Thrusters, snatches, cleans, nothing ever looked sloppy, even right at the end, except that one time it was in 2020, I think, on the heavy shoulder to overhead. And it was the last rep of the workout. I think he still won it, but.
Oh, I don't remember which one you're talking about. 2020 was the Ratch Games pandemic year. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah. So it seems like he was probably just so durable that he was able to push to his limit without the technique slipping at all. And then that one workout, he ended up missing a rep, and that was his limit or whatever, right? But it still didn't look bad. So
2020 was an interesting year for Matt because I kind of felt like he nailed it in. It was his last year. He knew he was going to go 5 for 5. He was going to be the greatest to ever do it. And so maybe he was like, let's see what happens on this rep. Like, I know that I should take a break. I probably should have taken a break 2 or 3 reps ago. And part of this conversation should tie into pacing. But that's probably what he was thinking, was like, I'm going to win this. I'm going to be the best that ever did it. I should have taken a break. I should have broken this set into 3, but I'm just going to see if I can do it in 1, and it'll be inconsequential because I'm going to win anyway. Because I remember they did like some sort of Murph variation as the final,
Oh yeah.
and he did the whole thing side by side with Tia. They were training partners at the time. And you could tell that he wasn't trying that hard. He just wanted to do the workout with Tia. And they were like running beside each other. She was dying and he was having this chummy old time.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that the one that I was talking about, Tia failed the same rep on the same workout.
Oh,
It was very odd. It was like those two were just one that day, that year.
well, they were both being coached by Shane too. So I wonder if it was just like, if he was like, you guys, both of you, here's your plan. So
Go
it was the wrong plan for both of them.
do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Going broken.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very memorable for me. It's like, whoa, they're the same.
So a big part of that is knowing where your limits lie so that you can continue to express them more appropriately. Because in a lot of cases, if you blow up, you blow up, right? Like if you're fit enough, you can recover. But in certain instances, like the ones that really stand out to most people are probably strict handstand push-ups and legless rope climbs. Legless rope climb being more so than strict handstand push-up. For like more kind of like intermediate to advanced athletes, I think the strict handstand push-up can be pretty catastrophic in terms of getting too close to failure. But the legless rope climb is one where you'll see people, it's like, oh, I went too soon and now I have to take a 1-minute break or a 5-minute break. Or it's just like, I just will not be getting any more until tomorrow.
Yeah. Those two at the highest level, the rope climb seems to happen more often, but the handstand push-ups on the parallels
Yeah.
from a deficit, then it gets them at that point for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And they just they run into a solid wall.
Yeah. And then they're doing,
watching happens.
yeah. Yeah. They're doing singles or they're just, that's it. That's the end.
Yeah. But that's how all of the domains interact with one another, right? Like if you have this high physiological durability, then recovery towards mechanics and technique is going to be great. And then if you have the kind of like nervous system development for well ingrained mechanics and technique, and it's almost like that's the only way that you can perform it, is the most economical way. And that's already one of the pillars of performance, is economy, right? Like it's measured in endurance sport when they measure it as O2 cost. We call it technique in CrossFit, but really what it is economy. It's the least cost way to perform a movement. And it leans on proper mechanics, which is how we generate force. And then economy, technique, is how we express that force. So if you can only do it the best way, or not if you can only, but if you always do it the best way, and you have this high physiological durability to support that best way, then you'll be able to keep repeating it. But if you have low physiological durability and low mechanical and technical durability, and you get tired and then things start to break apart, then you'll just never get it back. But I think that's that perfect storm of seeing people where it's just like, I just can't come back from this. I've lost the ability to coordinate the movement properly, and I don't have the physiological systems to support recovery to the point where I can start re-coordinating.
It feels like durability and economy are very closely related. Like,
Absolutely.
in certain circumstances, it feels like they could be used interchangeably. Maybe not quite, but
Well, I think economy leans so heavily on the physiological side of durability. right? Where like when you're measuring these things, like let's say we put somebody on a low economy movement, like a cycle ergometer, right? Like you have very few things to manage from an economical standpoint, but we're still seeing these physiological durability pieces at the 40-minute mark, at the 80-minute mark, 120 minutes. The more durable athletes are preserving their their lactate, their blood lactate at a more sustained level. And the less durable athletes are seeing increases in blood lactate, or they're seeing drops in power at the same physiological threshold. So let's say we set our heart rate at 85% of maximum, then more durable athletes are sustaining a power output for longer and less durable athletes are dropping. And that's something where economy is very, very constrained.
Right. Yeah. So there's basically no influence of economy there because there's not really much that you can change about the cycling technique or whatever. There's
Mhm.
not much else that's going on. So in that case, what is the physiological durability? What comprises it?
It's that preservation of those those physiological markers.
Yeah. And what contributes to that preservation? Like what is it mostly structural? Is it mostly neurological? Probably both, right?
I don't think it's like known.
Mm-hmm.
It's just observed.
Yeah.
Like if you're asking what is the mechanism behind it, like can we look inside the body and say, like maybe like people with higher MCT transport have higher durability? I don't think they're measuring those things yet.
Mm,
They're just recognizing that durability is a component to performance.
yeah. And the biggest determinant of durability is time spent on that activity, probably, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I bet there's a big structural component, whether it's fascial or muscular, probably both. I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. When you start thinking about it, you're just like, it kind of is like a ping pong game, right? They just all go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This relies on this relies on this. And they're all interdependent
Yeah.
on one another,
Yeah.
right? Like economy is going to be heavily influenced by, like you say, fascia, tendon, muscle, and then the nervous system, how well we coordinate movements, and then the fatigue resistance within the nervous system, how long it can continue to coordinate those movements over time and preserve economy if we're participating in an economy heavy task. But then there's just the purely physiological stuff of like, why is this happening? If economy is essentially not even a factor when we put somebody on a cycle ergometer, and we're kind of removing that one constraint, why are we still seeing these changes?
Yeah. It's super interesting. Yeah, the case of the cycling definitely teases that concept out really well.
Yeah. Because
It
you would
was,
automatically assume like, oh, they're just like their technique, their mechanics or their technique is falling apart. And so the O2 cost is rising. And that explains it, but it doesn't.
no. Yeah. Or at least it explains it way less than most other things, like running.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot more degrees of freedom when you're running.
Yeah. And that's where I think you can take the durability concept and plug it into those models of like limiter bridge performance and look at sport as the determining outcome, right? Like what do we need to be good at in CrossFit? Well, pull out your Rolodex. Right? It's a million different qualities that we need to be good at. So like, let's pick on Sean for an example, right? Like one of the workouts, workout hygiene, terrible break structuring, right? Like so he's needing to chalk his hands for the rope climbs. He does a set of hang power cleans. He rests. goes back to the hang power cleans, takes a break, chalks his hands, goes up in the rope. Like, okay, well, you're already breaking the hang power cleans. Go hang power clean, chalk break, hang power clean, rope climb. You don't need that chalk break. Like, you don't need that additional break. So workout hygiene for him is a limiter in some cases, right? And then muscle up durability, this greater concept of muscle up durability. He did on his final set of ring muscle ups, it was 6. He went 3, break, smart break, 3, 1, 2, second rep looked fantastic. Went for 3, missed it. Came down, 10-second break, shook it out, hopped back up, missed his next rep. They're like, why are you missing this rep? Right? And it's just the movement, the mechanics, and the technique are starting to break down under fatigue. And that's the mechanics and technique component of durability. Physiologically, he should have been fine. Because it's not like it was an overly demanding workout. I'm sure there was some pretty intense upper body fatigue, but he just nailed 3 and 2 very good looking ring muscle ups. So where's the break? Exact same thing on the handstand walk for him. He's doing the big rounds, the 30, 100 rounds. Ball balls look great. First 25-foot handstand walk, great. 50 feet back, great. 75 feet over, kind of dodgy. 100 feet back, you can tell that he's getting to his limit. But first 3 rounds, great. Goes to 15, 50, 50. First round, great. Second round, kicks up handstand, falls. Kicks up, falls. Kicks up, falls. Kicks up, walks over, turns around, kicks up, walks back. And you're like, what the fuck is going on here? Right? So there's some sort of missing mechanics technique piece within this durability frame, because there's obvious signs that he's not too tired. The physiology is supporting what he's trying to do. He can do it, no problem. It's just something within this durability umbrella that's breaking down, that's causing him, for whatever reason. And it's not like 15 wall balls, like I think he went on the first round, he went 5-5-5. Second round, he went 8-7. So it's not like it's for a guy with an unbroken Karen. It's not like he should have accumulated so much fatigue. And then we've got this other evidence piece that he gets over, he comes down, he waits 10 seconds and he comes back with no issue. And then on the third round, it's the same thing. 8-7, kicks up, falls, hits it on his third. Turns around, comes back, nails it. And you're like, okay, so the physiology is probably sound. It's just this mechanics technique piece that is starting to break down. And for whatever reason, right? Like maybe it's purely psychosocial. He's like, I don't feel good about this. And then he finally gets one and is like, oh, I actually can do this, nails it. Right? Or maybe it's some sort of internal cueing. Like he doesn't have the ability to consciously say, I need to do this in the handstand walk when I'm really, really tired. And that's what's going to make me handstand walk when I think that I can't. He's too young on the sport and he hasn't developed those skills yet. So maybe that's the limiter that we take into our limiter bridge performance model. We're like, okay, so we develop the technique that lets you handstand walk when you're tired, limiter phase. Bridge, we start applying that handstand walk technique to a fatigued environment, bridge, and then we start doing it in CrossFit specific scenarios, performance.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that you described how that workout went definitely made me think about the psychological side that can come into a situation like that, where it's like, the frustration of missing a rep like that can really throw you off. Double unders, more frustrating, but handstand walk falling over is like pretty annoying, especially when you have to go unbroken for was it unbroken 25?
Unbroken.
Yeah.
When he's failing in like on the kick up,
Right.
or within the first 2 to 3 steps.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that definitely was was something that came to my mind. And it almost seems like, I mean, there's that other side of durability that you were talking about, right? It's like the psychological durability. It's your mindset and your emotional control and all that kind of stuff, right? That I almost thought that it might benefit you to have done workouts like that where you made those same mistakes and came back, almost as like an experience that you can like use in the future. It's like, I've done this before and I know, and I did this. I failed the handstand walk and then I was able to do 50 feet unbroken right after. I know I can do this right now.
Yeah.
But you don't really want to have those experiences, but it might be useful in the future, I guess. I don't know.
Well, you don't want to have a big competition.
No, definitely not.
Training is a fine place to
Sure.
have them,
Yeah.
right? But you definitely don't want to be having them. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what you're talking about is developing like a psychological resilience.
Mhm.
But I think Sean has that very good because he was a pitcher.
Yeah.
Like he played, I don't know, reasonably high level baseball and he was a pitcher. So if you want to talk about high pressure situations, there are a few sports that put more pressure on a single player on the field than baseball pitchers.
Yeah.
So I think he has the psychological resilience to maintain his cool and not get overwhelmed and frustrated and start to have like these kind of hissy fit blowups.
Yeah.
He's very calm in those situations.
Yeah.
What I think he's missing is the action.
Yeah.
He's not practiced and skilled enough with the handstand walk that he can be like, okay, I'm tired. Don't lose your cool. Focus on A, B, and C, or A, B, or A, or whatever. And this is what's going to get you through it. He's half of the way there by not losing his cool, but he doesn't have the next piece of the equation, which is like, what do I actually need to focus my attention towards? Now that I have control of my attention, I need something to focus it towards. And that's what I think is the piece that he's missing.
Yeah. So for somebody like him, would you at this point like pretty much only program handstand walks under fatigue?
No, what I would first program is the most valuable limiter for him, which is developing familiarity with the position of the handstand in which he's going to be most successful in.
Mhm.
So we've got all of these constraints within that, right? Like we have to think about how he moves, like his personal movement language. We talked about that in our mobility piece. Right? Like he is an extended guy. So he's never going to handstand walk like Danielle Brandon or like Alexis Raptis, right? Like they have this much more neutral posture. They really flex their shoulders well overhead. Ariel Lowen looks behind her when she's handstand walking. He's probably never going to walk like that, but we can get him closer to that so that he's not handstand walking in such a fatiguing position. Because that's what's influencing the way that he feels about handstand walk is that it's hard. Right? So as he kicks up, he's afraid because he knows it's going to be hard. I'm tired. I know this is going to be hard. I'm probably going to fall. I fell. But if he can learn, if we can remove at least as much of that fatigue quality from the technique as possible. So we're first going to attack the task, how his body interacts with the task. Or first we'll attack the individual and then the task, right? Because in ECO and CLA, we've got these three domains: individual, task, environment. So we're going to focus primarily on the individual and the task. We're going to get him moving his body in a way that is better for handstand walking. So he needs to be in less extension. He needs to be in a more neutral posture so that when he is handstand walking, he can maintain proper respiratory mechanics and he's not getting so tired. And then when he does that, he'll be able to release a bunch of tension in his body. We need to stack his shoulders so that he's more locked out and not doing this kind of like inclined bench press position. That's going to take some strain off his lower back. There'll be more kind of like diverse and broad effects from that if we ever have to do a workout that's deadlift, GHD, sit up, handstand walk, right? Like that's a nightmare scenario for him. This one, it was accumulating shoulder fatigue. He doesn't have great upper body endurance. So it's pretty bad. But I think given his postural preference, deadlift, GHD, handstand walk is the worst case scenario. So we start attacking the individual, make him move in a way that's going to be better, right? And then we apply it to the task, get him handstand walking that way more consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And then provide him with some internal cues. Okay. If I can just do this, I will be successful. Then start applying some more environmental constraints or removing some environmental constraints so that we can challenge that. And that's where mechanics, consistency, intensity fits in. We've got consistent mechanics. Now we'll start applying different types of intensity. And for him, the main intensity, like he's already done maybe like 300, 350 feet of handstand walking in a session, but not under that kind of fatigue. So we'll start dosing fatigue in that pushes him to this like roughly 80 to 90% success rate that we talked about in skill acquisition, where he's learning, he's being forced to employ that strategy that we developed in limiter phase. This, if I can just do this one thing, I will be successful. And then once we're like, okay, that's good enough, like you're really getting there, plug it into the, like some sort of, just retest that semis workout or give them something that we know is going to be even worse for them. Deadlift, GHD sit up, handstand walk. Or like GHD sit up, push jerk, handstand walk. Right? Because you know that somebody like that is going to, as they get tired, they're going to start biasing towards using their lumbar to create drive instead of using their hips to create drive.
Yeah, those push jerks get squirrely
Yeah.
in that extension position.
Oh yeah.
I definitely go there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So technique is just a huge part of this as well, right? It's like, if you can have a really consistent technique in your practice, you're going to be way more durable. So you're going to have more time working in that technique, and you're going to be less likely to use a less efficient technique or less economical technique as well.
Yeah. Because it's more practiced.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like this demonstration of durability. It's like, well, that person never breaks down. Well, because they pace properly and they operate within their capacities. And two, because they know how to do it the best possible way. They have internal cues that they can lean on to do it properly. And they've developed the structure. They've strengthened their body, the individual, in a way that actually supports that. Because if we can do it, but we're actually strongest in a different position, then we'll reach this threshold where we bias towards that position. So no matter how much good handstand walking I practice, if I'm still strongest in extension, I'll get tired and I'll revert to extension. And then I'll start, you'll see that like scorpion style handstand walk where I'm looking 15 and 16 inches in front of my hands and this massive arch in my back. And every step is a stomp. And it's this like controlled fall instead of a smooth and graceful, like walk/run.
That feels like a personal attack, Jer. My excuse is it's way faster.
Yeah. You're taking notes, eh?
Not if you're good.
Like how to get better at handstand walking.
Yeah. I'm just like furiously taking notes over here.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I think
one of the drills that I give to people when I'm trying to get them better at handstand walking is just buttloads and buttloads of wall walks, specifically executed wall walks. Like you're doing a handstand walk towards the wall, but it removes so many constraints so that they can actually just focus on proper positioning, right? They don't have to worry about falling. They don't really have to worry about being tired. You can manage that fatigue through your prescription. All they have to worry about is adopting this very optimal position of being in a stacked handstand. And they just get better and better and better at it the more that they're consciously practicing. Because we know through our skill acquisition episode that practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So they have to be conscious and present in the training. But then you can just accumulate more and more reps of this ideal posture, position, technique. And then when you transition to handstand walking, they've done so much of it, it starts to become their natural kind of like tendency to do it that way. That's the hope.
Yeah. Yeah. It probably is. At a certain point, it's going to be really hard to undo or override some of that, previous technique, right? If somebody's really, really strong in extension and they're pretty deep into it, probably going to be pretty hard to make a neutral position their new norm. But maybe then they end up like Noah, where they start off with really good technique and they kind of fall apart a little bit, but they're still like really, really good.
Yeah. I think that's where there's like a couple prongs to that discussion. One, and probably the most important one, is genetics. Like maybe you're just not good enough to be elite in this sport because of the way that you express yourself. And then two is pacing, the intelligence behind sports. Like we see lots of team sport athletes who don't have the best individual skills, but because they're such intelligent players, they score 50 goals a season, or they get 100 points a season, or whatever it is, 30 touchdowns in a season. It's just because they have great intelligence and a great read. And there's lots of people within CrossFit that are like that. That individually, when you benchmark them against others, they're not that great. But then when it comes to competition, they perform so well because they're so familiar with their bodies that they get their best result every single time. And the fact that they're actually achieving their best brings them above the people who are technically better than them, but are underperforming.
Yeah. Strategy, IQ.
Mm-hmm.
And IQ, not in the usual way. Sport IQ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else about durability? What do you got?
Oh, I don't know. That pretty much covers, I think, all of my thoughts around durability.
Yeah,
Just
that's an interesting.
broadening the definition into an umbrella
Yeah.
of things that we want to preserve. Like instead of just being like, oh, it's this physiologically observed thing where people are sustaining power outputs over longer durations, or sustaining blood lactate at the same power output over a longer duration, creating a durability umbrella and plugging certain domains into it, and then looking at those as limiters within their training plan, pulling them, plugging them, training them, and hoping for an improvement in performance.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a cool, interesting thing. I hadn't thought about in this context before. Like it.
So you're going to start putting it into some of your programs.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll definitely be on my mind now. But I think, the way that it's really kind of presenting itself as hammering technique, even more. I mean, it's something that most everybody knows probably is like, work on your technique, work on your technique. But lots, more and more reps with really good technique to build that repetitive, right? That automaticity.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of, progressively stress that a little bit more once it's more well developed. Hard to
What
do.
about what about the physiological side of it? Is that something that you would consider moving forward, knowing that it's like an objective and measurable, observed component to fitness? would you consider how you approach athletes training longer term, knowing that you can improve their physiological durability by increasing their exposure to training volume?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it kind of just, like, puts a new term in a discussion that's already happening. Is like, we're dealing with all of these variables, volume, intensity, frequency, and all of these things are combining, and the durability is, like, one outcome of all of those things. So I think it's, like, putting a name on something that's already in there, but
Mm.
maybe maybe it's way more than just that. I just haven't fully digested it yet, maybe.
We've talked quite a bit in the past, and I feel like this is going to be, it's going to bring us back to the beginning where we were talking about, you start, you read and you read and you read and you hear these ideas and you're like, oh, that's the same idea as this. It's just, like you said, it's just got a different label attached to it. And you and I have discussed how one of our primary goals should be to increase training volume because that correlates well to fitness, right? Fitness is just another word for performance, but increasing training volume. And then it's like, oh, well, one of the reasons that we would want to do that is to improve durability. And then we take this durability umbrella, take somebody like James Sprague. Do you think he is going to benefit from doing more training volume with the intention of improving his physiological durability? I don't. But if we look at his movements and we can adjust the individual, right? Like that's the task lever or the constraint lever that we're going to pull, get him moving a little bit better, improve his economy, improve the durability that exists around mechanics and technique. And then he can lean on that high physiological durability that he already possesses. Because I think you could argue the point that there's never been anybody that's as durable as he is. He doesn't move poorly, but just the way that his body is set up with his long legs and his short torso, he's not well suited anatomically to be good at CrossFit, but he's still good. But if you could make him a little bit more mechanically and technically durable by first improving the way that he moves and then preserving the way that he moves, and then lean into that physiological durability that he already possesses, he might be the 6, 7, 8-time champ that we have never seen before.
Yeah. Do you think, like, what do you think would get him more likely to get him to that level, being way, way stronger or improving his durability like you just described?
Well, I think it's the approach that you take to generate the performance outcome, right? So we're talking about mechanics and technique. Do you think that just getting him generally stronger would give him a different base or a broader base from which to improve his mechanics and technique? Probably, right? Like he's not that strong compared to everybody else. So if you made him stronger, he probably would have more capacity to express mechanics and technique. Or when he does, there would be a lower cost to those mechanics and that technique.
Yeah. But getting him an extra like 20 or 30 pounds on his snatch and, whatever 50 pounds on his clean and jerk might take the rest of his career and displace other training that would actually help him more, maybe, right?
That's the gamble. That's the
Yeah.
art of coaching,
Yeah.
right? Like I remember watching Laura Horvath in WFP, and they were talking about how they talked with their coach, and she's like up to like 50K of running per week. They have a goal set for her to run a 40-minute 10K. And you just like, it's like, right? I hope this pays off because it's such a lofty goal for a female elite CrossFitter at that body size
Mhm.
and proportion like that. basically that BMI to be running a 40-minute 10K? Is it actually going to make her better at CrossFit? Is she going to perform better? Who knows?
Yeah, that one sounds like more of a gamble.
Yeah. But I don't think it's any more of a gamble, right? Like you take this specific metric and then you're going to call it a KPI when in actuality, it's not. Like nobody's going to look at 40-minute 10K as a KPI. Be like, I hope this makes me better and I can win the CrossFit Games a couple more times and I can win WFP finals. But if I could put 30 pounds on my back squat, I feel like that's a more relevant KPI within CrossFit. Or if I could put 15 pounds on my strict press, that would be a more relevant KPI to CrossFit, and it would have more overreaching, broader implications for performance within CrossFit. But at the same time, it might do nothing.
Yeah, that's true. The artist truth.
Yeah.
We don't know for sure.
No, we don't. I guess that's the excitement of it as a coach.
Yeah.
Fear excitement.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely keeps you on your toes. It's like, oh, I better program this correctly. Otherwise, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in shit.
Yeah. Maybe that's why some of the best coaches create the best athletes is they're willing to take those like Hail Mary home run type risks and they guess right. And luck is what's driving their success more than expertise and knowledge.
Yeah.
How would you implement some durability tomorrow?
Tomorrow we are doing
Well, I
echo
mean,
bite.
like a program design.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking about what I'm gonna program in addition to what we're doing at the gym. Because I usually do, extra drills and stuff for myself. Handstand for sure, handstand position technique. Possibly more wall walks like you were describing. It's such a simple one, such a convenient one to add in. So before the handstand push-ups, maybe some wall walk to work on the positioning. What else are we doing? I think we're doing like mostly cardio, so not super relevant, but yeah, I think handstand, that one definitely hits for me because I'm in the positioning technique department. I'm kind of the same as Sean.
Oh yeah.
Hyper
Like
expand
extension.
through the back and not flexing fully through the shoulders. I'm pretty open there.
Oh yeah. So I'll give you maybe like a little warm up progression that I use with a lot of my clients. And I do this all the time. Like I do wall walks for myself to maintain overhead mobility for no other reason than I just want to maintain the overhead mobility. And I don't need to warm up to do them. I can just do them cold. So I do them all the time as part of my warm up. But maybe you could do something like some box handstand holds or like a thoracic, like that loaded thoracic stretch where you put like a dip belt on your back and you grab a rack, put that on your back and forth with a hollow hold and then a box handstand hold. And then you go into wall walk where you're starting to kind of like open it up, make it more specific. And then kick to freestanding handstand hold where all you're trying to do is as you come up, get into the position that you've been training, do like 3 rounds of the loaded thoracic stretch, 30 to 60 seconds, and the box handstand hold, 20 to 30 seconds. And then 3 sets of 3 wall walks and 5 kick to freestanding handstand holds. You're just like, get into position. And then like 5 sets of 10 feet handstand walk, increasing the speed of the handstand walk. So first set, you're just like, okay, I just want to reach and control this position that I've been training for the whole 10 feet. And then I'm going to try and do it faster, 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 faster.
Nice. I like that. That's going to be almost a workout for me.
Really?
Yes. No, not
No,
really.
not even close. That'll take you like 10 minutes to get there.
Yeah. No, I'm exaggerating, but that'll be good. I like that. The loaded, that's like a prayer stretch with load on your back, which I've not done.
Have you not done that stretch?
No, I've done it in reverse where like a pullover.
Yeah.
But with load, with load directly on your T-spine, I've not done that.
Oh, yeah. I like to do that passive end range, active end range, back and forth combo quite a bit, where I'm like accessing, controlling, accessing, controlling. It's almost PNF.
Yeah.
An idea where it's like, again, right? Like, what are all these overlapping ideas, right? Like post-activation potentiation. Let's practice moving fast, activate the nervous system, then we'll put a heavy load on. Let's expose the nervous system to an increased range of motion and then see if we can control it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah. Okay, nice.
Sweet. Let me know if you do it. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, here, let me just check. Mike texted me what we're doing tomorrow. I just want to see what else in case we can add some stuff to the list here.
I'm just going to coach your whole session through this podcast episode, hey? Design your warm-ups, give you training intention. So, and then here's another point, right? Like, okay, so you said you're doing a bunch of machine work, right? And we're talking about durability. We're talking about stress. It's all about management of stress. In your program, what are you already doing lots of? Are you already doing lots of high intensity training? So then keep your machine work, your monostructural, your engine work at a lower intensity and extend the duration. And then pair it with these skills so that you can double your time value of like, okay, I'm still doing engine work, but I'm doing lots of mixed modal high intensity threshold / VO2 work, which is applying a massive dose of stress to me, but I still need to work on my engine and I'm still doing monostructural work. So let's keep my monostructural work as easy zone 2 work. And that's also going to allow me to build skills into it. Because if I were doing threshold intervals, I would only be able to do threshold intervals. I wouldn't be able to layer any skills inside of it. So I do easy or zone 2 work, mono, and then we layer in some skill practice.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And, cardio, just basic fitness is definitely not my weak point. It's probably the thing that I'm best at is just like, a row or a bike. So yeah, that makes sense. Just kind of back off on those and make the other stuff the focus. It's echo, handstand push-up, Berkeley box get over, and rowing. That's all I know. I don't know any reps or anything.
Echo, hands. Oh, so there's no handstand walking.
No walking.
But you might just do it as a skill. Just do it as a skill for your warm-up.
Yeah.
It'll lend itself well to the handstand push-up anyway, because you're going to want to warm up to be upside down. You might as well take a skill, give it double duty, spend 10 minutes working on your handstand walking, and then you don't have to warm up your handstand push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. You want to participate in the class, right? But you can give yourself, and we've talked about this in the past, high-low training. We do want to respect the stress response that we get from training. Like we shit on CNS fatigue as hard as we did, but there's still stressful training and non-stressful training, right? And if you're going to do an hour-long session every time, an hour of low intensity is less stressful than an hour of high intensity. So we want to alternate those high-low days, and you can give yourself a true low day so that tomorrow you can get a true high day, instead of what the common error with CrossFit people is every day is a high day, which means every day is a moderate day. Because we can never truly express ourselves in high intensity because we're so rat bagged from the previous training session.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah. The box get over might be an opportunity for, I haven't done enough of those to really have a, consistent technique or even a real well formulated thoughts about it.
What's it going to be like 48 inches for men? 40 inches?
Probably 48.
48.
That's what we did last time we did those.
Oh, yeah. You can see lots of techniques. Mayhem had that log get over, and there were lots of different techniques. But then in competition scenarios, they'll apply different constraints to that. So there might be this like space that you have to fit within, and the summer or the tummy roll just doesn't work because your body is too long and your feet and your head go outside of the space. So then you have to maybe you have to do the vault, right? Or you can butt scoot, or you can do like a knee turn. But I don't know, maybe the answer to that is pick 3 techniques. And if you've got multiple rounds, practice each technique on each round. And that build, it doesn't fit like completely within the durability window, but Sam Smith has this really great framework that he works off of called fragile, resilient, anti-fragile. And I would tack onto the end mastery. So within durability fits fragile, resilient, anti-fragile, right? Like we've got fragile, if mechanics and technique break down quickly. Anti-fragile, I can maintain mechanics and technique. And then resilient is I can maintain mechanics and technique in multiple environments. But where I would tack on mastery is that I can adopt different techniques to accommodate 2 different environments, right? So like we've talked about skier technique or GHD sit-up technique or any of the ring muscle up techniques. You can take this movement where there's a defined outcome. You can respect mechanics where we're like, all movements are core to extremity, but we perform them in a different way so that we respect the environment, right? If I'm doing, let's say I have a workout that's back squats and shoulder to overhead, push press is what I'm going to do because I don't want to double up on the dip because I want to save my quads for the back squats. But if the workout is rowing or skiing in shoulder to overhead, I'm going to choose push jerk. The outcome is defined. The technique that I use to achieve that outcome is not. And that's where mastery comes in. And that's where you might want to practice these different box over, these get over techniques so that you can work yourself towards movement mastery and not just get stuck in that anti-fragile state.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think the only way I've remember doing them is with the vault. But with that high, it's not really a vault because I'm not swinging my legs over, but it's up, legs on, jump off.
Oh, yeah. Something else that you also have to navigate is the width of the box, where a lot of what they're doing in competitions now is like over a log or over a wall.
Mm-hmm.
And the wall technique that they did at Torian, you saw a lot of people do that like front flip kind of cartwheel style.
Yeah.
That was really good, but it's going to be a heavy landing, right? So again, as we go to technique mastery, that might be good if we're doing a lot of upper body stuff. But if we've got like a heavy squatting component and our legs are getting kind of beat up and then we have to absorb a heavy landing on the other side of the wall, it might not be the best technique.
When are you doing your next Saturday in Vernon?
Not for a while. My next scheduled one, we're going to Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know what we have after that. Probably not until the fall.
Okay.
Yeah. September, October. I wish that I would do more, but at the same time, I don't. I'm like not working on weekends.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Well, enjoy, man. I'm going to bounce out.
Thanks.
Okay. Have a good one.
Happy Father's Day.
Thanks.
See ya.